lot of beautiful things can come out of teamwork if you just choose to look at the good parts and not the bad parts.
Yeah.
Teamwork!
My name is Nia. My program is biology, and I'm in my 4th year.
My name is Fairy Annie, and I'm a 3rd year, and my program is professional communications. I think that the biggest difference with studying in high school versus university is that within high school you have a designated time to do everything, and you have teachers to walk you through it. You have friends to always be around you and kind of studying the same thing. Whereas within university, it's not to say everything is on your shoulders. It's just your level of organization needs to be a bit better. You need to be a bit more mindful of when you should be studying things and when things are due. Obviously, the content can be a lot heavier, but I think it's more so about your time management that's the biggest change, because you're not always in school every day like you are in high school.
I would describe the experience of being a first-year student as honestly isolating, kind of intimidating as well, just because it is a very big jump from high school to university, and a lot of the times teachers or people who help guide you through it always highlight how it's going to be a very different experience and you're going to be on your own a little bit more. So it can make it a little bit scary when you're thinking about how it's going to be, but it also is what you make of it. So it's important to not focus on kind of the differences and more so the new opportunities.
I second that.
Perfect.
The biggest change between high school and university, I would also say, is just learning to do things on your own a little bit more. You don't have somebody who's guiding you or kind of telling you that this is due at this time. It's more so up to you to remember these things and go about it in a way that's best for you.
Last thing I will also say is that in high school, you have teachers who can recognize that you are struggling, so your communication doesn't have to always be the best. But in university, always talk to your professors if you feel that things are hard or you just don't understand anything. Your communication needs to be a bit better when it comes to studying in university.
Just knowing the resources that are available to you and are there to help you would kind of help make the transition a lot smoother.
The content and the things that you go through, yes, in the moment can feel overwhelming, but as long as you are just catering to yourself, it's not the end of the world, and it's learning how to advocate for myself is something I wish I knew.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, because you can kind of feel isolated and a little bit alone in the experience. It sometimes pushes you away from, asking for the help or resources that you might need. But once you kind of get over that barrier, you'll realize that a lot of people are going through the same things and they probably have experienced it before, just like you. So there are things in place that are there to help you.
I think a piece of advice I would give my first year self is that when you are feeling stupid, that means you're learning. Or when you feel dumb, you are learning. When things get hard, you are learning.
To me, what makes somebody a good student would be maybe their drive and determination to do better. I don't think it necessarily relies on how good your grades are, but more so the mindset that you have. Being able to bounce back from a bad grade maybe, or constructive criticism, and see how that can help you improve later on for future projects or assignments. Just your overall outlook on how you can do better and progress as a student, I think it will take you far in your university career.
Emotional intelligence as well, because again, you're not the only person who's learning, and you're sharing space with a lot of different people. So emotional intelligence is also really, really important. And somebody who is self-sufficient, I would say.
Do you think of yourselves as good students? And follow-up question, were you always that way, or what changed?
Do I think I'm a good student? I think I'm becoming a better student each day. I don't think I started off perfect, definitely far from it. I wouldn't say that I had the best habits even in high school and like my first and second year. But going back to what I said, I think just changing my perspective on how I approach these challenges and obstacles are continuously making me a better student, as long as I'm like allowing it to help me get to that place. I think like with each challenge, if you can see the growth that you can gain from that, that is what makes you a good student, and that's something that like I'm actively trying to do. I wouldn't say I'm exactly where I want to be, in terms of being this good student, but I do think I'm slowly climbing the ladder, so I'll get there.
Am I a good student? I would say yes, I am. I am a good student because my first couple years of university, like my emotions were all over the place. I didn't really know how to like support myself, advocate for myself. At times, I was really like rushing my assignments, and I would get so much anxiety. But I think that once I started to like learn more about these feelings and ask myself like, why are we feeling this way? I would tend to tell myself like, oh, I think I'm gonna fail already. So I think I became a good like teacher or supporter to myself, and then that made me a better student because I was like treating myself with like love and like respect, and that's how I felt like I became like a good student.
I would say the thing I enjoy most about group work is just the ability to collaborate with people and get to share my own ideas, but also listen to theirs. I think there's a lot of benefits when it comes to hearing what people have to share, and it also is really good for sparking my own ideas. So that's a part of group work that I really enjoy.
Sometimes your natural flow and clock could be inconvenienced by group work. So I might have organized my whole schedule because I'm a great student towards getting all my assignments done. However, then comes along someone else I have to rely on, and that could just, disrupt my schedule. So, or your schedule.
What can I say?
You could say maybe like if there's a lack
The
of
downside
communication.
of group work
Yeah.
can be okay. The downside of group work can be having to adapt your own ideas into something that fits everyone else's perception of what is right. You're asked to do so much group work as a student because most professors want to give you real world experience, and most of the time you're not going to be working by yourself. You're going to be working in a team or with a group of people, so learning how to communicate effectively within these groups can take you a long way in your career.
The advantages of working in a group is that while you are working on your hard skills, you also are working on your soft skills like interpersonal communication, time management. Group work can be a positive environment if you have a good system for communication and everybody is able to advocate for themselves and understand what their deliverables are.
You can make group work a positive experience by supporting your group members' ideas in a way that acknowledges people's perspectives, but also guides them towards the overall goal. Being supportive and lifting each other up.
It's nice seeing the group work going on.
Teamwork. Teamwork. A step that you can use to get organized for group work is to get together and figure out if you are a team that would like to work together at a certain time in a certain location, or you are a team who would like to work separately and do your own things. That can determine how you are then splitting up your team's work. And also, if you are a team that decides to do things separately, try your best to have tasks that actually don't rely on each other as much, because that can cause a lot of conflict. You could say work back schedule.
Yeah, work back schedule is a
Work
good
back?
idea.
Yeah, work back schedule. It's kind of like where I look at where's the due date, and then
Oh, you start from the end and then you
yeah, and
go
then you work up
backwards.
and you like write the task, and then you just say, oh, I'd have to like finish this so that I can continue this, and then they keep
Yeah.
going until you finish. Just say internal deadlines for your team. Like you say, oh, like the roles, and then within those roles, like obviously distribute tasks and have like set due dates for those tasks.
A great first step to getting organized as a group is assigning tasks. For example, one person can be in charge of creating slides and the other one can be in charge of creating deadlines for when these things are due. For example, I'm working on a research proposal right now, and I have a group of like about 5 people. We assign 2 people for the introduction, where they can introduce the topic and why it's beneficial to, have this kind of research on this kind of topic. And then we had 3 people work on the discussion, where we talked about like different methodologies and advantages and disadvantages, and the conclusion.
When it comes to group work, there could be different types of group work. Like Nia had mentioned, research. There's a lot of like creative work as well. And the different roles that could come up are those who may do the internal work like research, data collection, those who are collecting. So you could have a collector. You could also have somebody who is on the communication side who kind of like formulates all these things that are collected. And then you could have somebody who oversees everything and like edits and analyze.
Wait, I was asking for what's a group charter?
It's just kind of like a contract. Like you're writing like, what do I expect from you? What do you expect from me? And like we both sign our lives away. Like remember when I made you sign that thing?
Our contract.
Yeah.
It was a friendship contract.
It's forever.
Yeah.
It's forever.
Just to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There are times where we could be blessed with group members who act accordingly and communicate greatly, and there's no need for formal communication. However, it is very important that we're always expressing what we expect from our group mates and what our group mates expect from us.
Yeah. I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know if I can top that. Because I feel like
Good joke.
in my experience, like most of the time it comes from just the beginning conversations of how people are talking about it and how like structural the outline is going to be. Like when somebody takes initiative into like creating like firm deadlines or firm rules and expectations for that, I feel like it's a lot easier to follow in that same kind of route. In my experience, I would say if I feel like some of my members are talking in a way where it's like, oh, maybe it's going to be a little bit more work to put in than I like anticipated, kind of just letting them know that, oh, like what are some expectations that you want me to follow, because maybe I was going about it in this way, but after our conversation, I feel like I should maybe change that perspective a little bit and just talking to get more insight on like how I can contribute in the best way. The most common conflicts that can arise from group work would be people not pulling their weight. Most of the time, when expectations are set in the beginning, sometimes when you find that a member isn't pulling their weight, it can kind of drag the entire group down. So it's important to acknowledge these behaviors in the beginning. That way, it doesn't have like a domino effect.
So a common conflict that comes up in group work is projection. When we are working with other people, we tend to always think through the lens of our experiences and the things that we go through without recognizing that these are other people. So the best way to combat that is to have conversations in the beginning about what our capacities are, our availabilities, and what this certain project really means to us. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I was gonna say egos, but I feel like that's like, I don't know. But yeah.
You didn't want to make it too personal to anybody.
Yeah, like you got an ego. You got an ego.
All your group. Luckily, this will be released after any current group projects.
I think I'm a person who takes a lot of initiative, and I would just kind of like rework what I'm doing to then finish the project. But I would always recommend talking to that person and having a conversation to see like where their head is at. And if it doesn't seem like that changes the situation, the best advice is to pivot.
Another example of when I experienced conflict in a group was working in a summer research position. About halfway through the position, I realized that I wasn't able to pull my own weight. So I had to do some self-reflection and reach out to my mentor and let her know what I was going through. And that way she was able to accommodate me and give me a different task to do, which was within my capabilities. That way I was still able to contribute, and I also didn't bring my group down.
A lot of the group work that I do is creative work. So it definitely depends on like the brainstorming phase and just like going back and forth. There was a time that I had group members who became very silent and weren't communicating when it came to like the ideation phase, and that caused a lot of conflict with others. For me though, I just worked on my communication with them. Rather than asking them direct questions, I chose to ask them what they thought about ideas, and slowly they started to come out of their shell and communicate more.
I would say if you feel like you're not being heard by your group, you should try maybe to tell them what your capabilities are, and maybe giving them like another option, saying that like I can't do this, but I could do this, and seeing how they respond. And if you still feel like you're not being supported or heard, then reach out to a prof.
If you are a student that feels like you're doing more work than your members, I would suggest maybe having a meeting to update each other on what is going on, what are we working on, what is happening in our lives. And I think that might give you more clarity to notice if you actually are doing more work or it just feels like you're doing more work.
If you feel like you're doing more work in a group setting, maybe you could try to, yeah, like what you said, like maybe try setting up a meeting to talk about maybe redistributing the work, and that way you can kind of hear other people's perspective if they think that's fair or not.
What would you say to somebody who feels like they're never going to get through this group assignment they're in right now?
Oh.
What?
She taught me this. Okay, she said sometimes when you have a task, it can feel like a big mountain, right? And you're only looking at the top of the mountain, which is like the hardest part to get to. But if you kind of redirect yourself to that first step you take towards getting to the top of the mountain, it can kind of break up that big task and make it seem more digestible for you.
Yeah, I'd be saying philosophical stuff. I say a lot of philosophical stuff.
Does that answer the question though? Like if you feel like you can't
Yeah.
get through it, like maybe it's because like you're too focused on
Like,
the end goal and
the due
like just
date.
jumping there.
Yeah.
It's like there are tiny steps in between, you know, where you are right now and the end goal. So if you focus on, you know, taking one step at a time, you could turn that one big goal into a bunch of mini goals that slowly take you to the top of the mountain.
It really like illustrates the idea of like what is nice about group work is like you will literally almost finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, I just look at you, I'm like, what's next?
Which is like that's why group work is nice. You know, complaining about group work is part of the student experience.
Yeah.
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 If you're not complaining about your group project,
Did you have a group
did you
project?
even have a group project? So true.
That's true.